6 o'clock on January 13th, 2026. Please rise if you are able for the Pledge of Allegiance.
Pledge allegiance to the flag of the United States of America and to the republic for which it stands, one nation, under God, indivisible, with liberty and justice for all.
This starts our semi-annual joint planning board and select board meeting. Let's see, which brings us to open session. Does anybody have anything for planning board and select board?
Do you want a report from the withdrawal committee?
We'll conclude our joint, meeting and then we'll go into
Okay.
select board. You'll get your chance then.
Mm-hmm.
Did you guys get a chance to go over the questions?
Yes. Okay, so we had, some questions. I'm just gonna go in the order in which, Norma, put together for us. So the first question is, who will pay for the signs? This is regards to, a ordinance that the board is putting together for 911, to make it so that, people's driveways who build a second home essentially will turn that driveway into a road. And how's the town gonna navigate getting first responders to the road, or to that driveway slash road, to see that people get help that needs help, so. Who will pay for the signs?
And that was only for private roads, right?
Yes, these are just private roads, yeah, so not public roads. Who will pay for the signs? How will we enforce payment of the signs? And then there's a part A to that. Do we add verbiage to the building notification to say that building notifications will not be approved for towns, or for people who own fines, fees, etc.? So, planning board chair, do you have any recommendations?
In terms of who pays for the signs, I think you make it so that the person that pulls the building notification that brings the driveway to roadside, so like the second building on that driveway would be responsible for paying for the sign. I do think that, in terms of adding to the building notification, that makes sense, that, you know, if you have unpaid fees, it wouldn't be approved. In terms of, I don't know if you asked this, but the multiple dwellings that are already there, I think that the town would probably have to take care of that.
Okay, I think that's a later question, but you brought it up, we'll just touch it real quick. Yeah, if somebody's already there, if there's already a private road that has multiple residents on it, yeah, I kinda feel like, the town changing the rules after these folks are established will shoulder the burden of putting up these road signs. And then in the event that let's say in a scenario where there's two houses on a private road that's grandfathered in, a third house will have to submit the paperwork and essentially then pay for a sign through a fee that it already exists. So that's how the town will recoup the money having to get folks grandfathered in. Does that make sense?
Yeah.
Okay.
A question on if it's not a private road, but it's a right of way, how does that, what would apply in that situation?
So, so your question is right away, so,
It's on somebody's property, but there's a right of way through it to houses like 114 on Black Mountain.
so what this ordinance would need is someone to name that road, so that if somebody down the easement road needs help, they can, the right of way can get help that they need. Is that?
I think in that situation though, if you're off of Black Mountain, for example, and there's an easement and that address is a Black Mountain address, then I think it's about the mailbox and the lettering on the mailbox. Cause it's not if it's a Black Mountain address, it's still Black Mountain Road, it's just set back.
Okay.
Yeah. In that
Okay.
instance.
Yeah, in
Well,
that.
there's no mailbox, so far it has the number 114, so.
Yeah, I think that would,
We're saying
mailbox.
two or more.
Yeah.
Yeah.
does get a little complicated though, like, if it's the same street address, I don't think that there's a requirement there, but if it's, now the same street address but multiple dwellings, I think that changes.
But it doesn't have a name, it's just a long road, so.
So,
But is
yeah,
there
if it
only
became,
one
if there's
residence
only
out there?
one residence, that's fine. However, if there's multiple residents, 2 or more, you would need that road would have to be named, and then they would have to get mailboxes down, you know, and that would be up to the folks who live in those residences to get their mailbox and then work out their details with the post office.
That would be preventable, but it doesn't have an impact on that.
If there's only one house there now that has no impact.
Yeah, yeah, cause it's a driveway, essentially.
Yeah.
Yeah, so driveways, 1 residence, 2 residences, we'll have to consider it a road. Alright.
When will this go into effect?
So, very big question. If once it goes to a town vote, to vote in the ordinance, we would give 6 months before it would go into effect. That'd allow people to choose a name. I don't wanna get too far in the weeds on that one, cause we are gonna cover that in some of these other questions. But if you have when we're finished, if you have any more questions, please let me know. And are you guys satisfied with number 1? Okay. Alright, number 2. For existing dwelling that will need private road signs, who will pay for the signs? When will we make them choose a road name, date? So we sort of already covered it, I'll just touch it quickly. For existing dwellings that need private road signs, who will pay for the signs? So 1 residence, it's a driveway. 2 residents, it's a private road. They will, the next house that puts in or next house that's built will be part of their building notification, and that'll get things in motion to pay the fee for the road sign, to cover it. In the event that there's already a private way, the town will just eat that cost and get the road sign for the folks. As far as it's named, I think it goes without saying. I'm sure there'll be verbiage in the ordinance that says something that can't be anything obscene, and a name is chosen. If somebody chooses not to choose a name, or somebody chooses not to participate, I think just choosing a name for the road of a geological formation or something that's native to the area as a name, it would be a good way of kind of not having a name but not making it anything that is favorable one way or another.
Yeah, I think the way we have it written currently is that the person that's bringing it into like road status could make a recommendation. It would be the select board that approves it.
Okay.
Either way is fine.
Any issues? Moving on. Alright, let's see, should this, there's part A to that question, should this be an amount of time from when the ordinance is approved at the town meeting? Yes, of course. That would, 6 months after it's approved by the good folks of Sumner, if it comes to that. 3, should there be verbiage on building notification that explains the E911 addressing and when a private road is needed? Yes. It's kind of the same as question number 1. Number 4, should there be a 5,000 threshold on renovations? You can do renovations of 5,000 or less with no building notification. It's because, especially with inflation these days, and who's to say what amount, I make a recommendation that we just say, you're allowed to do renovations on your home up to 50% of the current construction. So that way, if it's 50%, they're surely changing the footprint of their home and leave the actual dollar amount off.
Is this just interior or would it be interior?
It could be
or
interior.
exterior?
It could be interior or exterior.
It's currently 1,000, right?
yes.
Yeah, currently 1,000,
If you do $1,000 worth of improvement,
but that's a couple pieces of sheet wood.
That's a
or
refrigerator.
well, yeah, are we talking material cost or added value, or, so it gets a little,
I
Yeah.
think it's 3,000.
Yeah,
it's
3,000.
3,000, oh, okay.
Yeah.
I thought we were at 1,000.
My only concern with outside is the assessors like to have a building notification, even if they're not paying, so it can be assessed.
As long,
You mean if it's like additional, or if they're changing the footprint?
Yeah, if they're changing the footprint, I mean, if you wanna make it for outside as well, $5,000 for outside.
Yeah, like if you put it on a covered porch, for example. Like
Well, I
my
think
covered
it-
porch was 12,000, right?
I think a lot of it refers back to if you're changing the footprint, you know, if you're increasing, because a lot, like for, as an example, in shoreline zoning, you're only allowed to cover so many square feet.
Right.
So that would need to be approved, you know, and it's kind of a blanket coverage of that, but if it's already an existing structure and you're, say, re-siding or fixing something that's already existing, then that's kind of what we're going for right now.
what if it's a not change to footprint, if it's just interior?
That's kind of what I was hoping for. You know, whatever, if you want to renovate a bathroom or whatever, I mean, honestly, the sky's the limit with that. I mean, depending on how much money you got to spend on it, you can exceed that $5,000 pretty rapidly.
Yeah, of course.
Right, which is why we didn't wanna put a money
Right.
figure on that.
So,
So as long as the footprint isn't changed, and I feel like I think that's
Exactly.
fair, a 50% change inside, anything greater than 50%, to include 50%.
Mhm.
So essentially anything less than 49% won't require a building notification for.
Are we changing that just inside, or are we staying inside or outside?
I feel like if it's outside footprint, then we need someone to take a look at it, we need the CEO to take a look, how that affects,
Would have to have a building notification anyways, anything over 10 by 10, right? Or we're changing,
Well,
we might change
that's
that too,
changing
right?
too.
Yeah,
We
that
might
change,
We might
yeah.
change that as well, but still, it's
Yeah.
gonna be pretty minimal compared to 50% of the outside of your house is a
Mhm.
pretty substantial addition.
well, that's what I'm saying, if you're changing the outside, you're looking at,
You're gonna put in a notification.
Yeah.
right.
Yeah.
but changing the inside, I mean, if you're gutting a room,
Exactly.
do we really want people to put in a building notification to change a room?
I mean, as far as I'm concerned, it's nobody's business.
I'm leaning that way.
Then you're gonna have a hard time getting anybody to put in one of those.
Yes, exactly, if
Regardless.
it's not governable, why have a rule on it?
Anybody ask,
You know?
We've never
one
had
person.
Yeah.
it anyway, right, so it makes
Yeah.
sense.
We're busy enough.
Yeah, right.
So as long as it doesn't exceed 50%,
And no expansion of footprint.
yeah, no change of footprint.
So is this an ordinance as well, that's gonna
Yeah.
be same ordinance, or is?
This will be the building notification ordinance, so we're talking about a couple of ordinances here. All right, where are we now? I'm sorry, I lost my spot. Number 5, should the minimum square footage for a building permit be increased to 150 square feet? What's the purpose?
So,
Hey.
so a lot of my, thought behind this was to kind of bring into compliance a lot of livestock shelters. Because if you put up something, well, as the ordinance states right now, if you put up any kind of structure, whether it's a well covering or it's a windbreak for your livestock, you must submit a notification for that and pay the fee. So I was trying to set that minimum to a point of allowing the residents to, you know, raise their livestock, do whatever they need to do in that regard, or if they gotta throw up something, that it would be in a reasonable amount of space allotted, essentially.
Does the ordinance not cover like lean-to type structures for animals? So like something that has 3 walls to get animals out of the wind, is that not covered in the ordinance?
The existing
No.
ordinance?
Yeah.
The existing ordinance is pretty
Any
plain.
structure, anything that's built, if you, I mean, and you can take it to a crazy extreme, if you build a doghouse that's 2x5 or whatever, that's technically.
Well, it'd have to be 100 square feet
No, it
That's
doesn't,
not
it doesn't
all
say a minimum size.
In our current ordinance.
in the ordinance, yeah.
Oh.
The only thing it says is on the building notification. So that's what needs to
Well,
be.
even on the building notification, all it says is under 100 square feet, you get a different fee. So it's $25 for under 100 square feet, and it's $50 for over 100 square feet.
Yeah, so the ordinance and the building notification reminds me of the Scarecrow in Wizard of Oz, where it's pointing in 2 different directions.
Yeah, the whole goal of these changes is to bring this more in line with reality,
Right.
basically.
Just trying to get people in compliance so that we're not, because I think in the reality of the situation is that you can you can point it in any direction, somebody's out of compliance for some reason or another, and the point of this is kind of to get a lot of those people in compliance, so you're trying to fight more the outstanding abusers of the ordinance, not necessarily just somebody that throws up something to keep their animals out of the weather, or
I mean,
basic structures, right?
150 square feet sounds reasonable to me personally.
It'd be about an 8x16.
Yeah.
Non-residential.
Non-resident, like a woodshed, something like
It
that.
certainly needs to say that.
Exactly.
Is there gonna be a limit? I mean, what if somebody has 2 acres and now they've got 15 of these shelters up? Like, is that a business? Do we start business, like, is that a business tax we're gonna start looking at?
Commercials are,
Well,
yeah.
what is that? What?
So it's.
How did,
it's-
so
it's-
if
yeah,
you look at it as somebody's raising livestock, if they've got 15 shelters for their livestock, is that are you taxing them as a business now, or are you allowing them to raise
I'm just
livestock?
saying, you're starting to.
Right.
You know,
That was my concern, was that not everybody in town is gonna do that, but there may be people in town, when you say you don't need a building notification, and you don't even need to fill out an application. What's to
yeah,
stop them
it's one thing where, you got a homesteader that's got the chicken coop and a pig pen and a lean-to that houses horses and cows, and then it's something else if now you have a 2-acre yard with 6 to 10 structures in it,
Mhm. Well, I think if you're renting it out as commercial space, wouldn't that violate the, I'm blanking on the name, but the site plan review? Cause if your site plan is for residential space and you're renting out space to somebody else, that's commercial land. If you've got it packed full of sheds, like, say somebody were to drop off a dozen shipping containers and rent them out as storage space for other people, that's no longer residential space, that is commercial space. So you can say that under the site plan, that you're violating that by having your residential space as commercial space. from my
So what's to
understanding.
stop somebody from taking, I mean, if 150 square feet is the hang up, what's the difference if someone wanted to do it with 100 square feet? With the 10 by 10s, I feel like if we straighten up the building notification and the ordinance for building, for what's allowable with our current norms, once that's built, then and squared away, then we can start looking at increasing the footprint of these buildings. Well, what do you guys feel?
So is there any restriction, back when, there was conversation about whether it had a foundation, if it was like a pole building, then it didn't have the same kind of requirements if it was gonna be a structure that had 4 walls and
Yeah.
the type of
I
foundation.
think the
for-
ordinance says something along the lines like gatehouses, pump houses.
Well, the original ordinance has no description, so what I did is, when I looked at it, I pulled a lot of the description from the minimum lot size. So all the descriptions that they say that they will not inhibit these structures, I kind of took that list and merged that into the building notification, because these are the things that we are trying to not prohibit, is, well coverings and such things.
I think that's a fair concern though around the multiple buildings, and I think there's a couple ways we could address that. One, we could add language to the building notification ordinance around like, I don't know, I could probably wordsmith this better, but like normal residential use or something like that, right? And then the site plan ordinance probably requires review at some point as well. We could tweak the site plan ordinance, like right now it says all development proposals. We could tweak it to say like all developments rather than proposals. And then that would cover.
I think some language in there that says there has to be a minimum distance between each building also would be worth investigating. And then, because like Paul kind of touched on, if it's turning something from an obvious, you know, small family farm into a commercial entity, now we're talking that's what spurs the need for the site plan review.
Mhm.
I think that's fair feedback, if we take that away.
Whatever we can do to make it the most friendly possible for the homesteaders and the farmers, you know, however we need to wordsmith that to make as much allowance as we can, but then just protect the town in terms of, like, Mary Ann was saying, you know, if it's got a foundation or, you know, different stopgaps in there to keep something from turning into something that wasn't intended to be allowed by the ordinance.
And that's the overall goal, is to
Yeah.
make this
Yeah.
easy for people to comply, right?
And also for the planning board to know what's in and what's out.
Yeah.
Exactly.
It should be much more
Clear.
yeah.
Well, I think also there's, like, a lot of the issue comes about with these, like, Home Depot sheds that get dropped off. A lot of them are like 8x16 or 8x20 or whatever, like these little single car sheds, essentially, that get dropped off in somebody's yard. A lot of people don't think this is something that needs a notification, because it's not you're not building something, you're having something delivered, right? Or even like, again, like a storage container. Storage containers can go up to 8x20, right? And that's not a building, that's a storage container, right? And it serves the same purpose. So, in a way to circumvent this, a shipping container has no foundation, right? So that you can't get it there. So somebody could have a dozen shipping containers in their yard, 8x20, right? That's not a building, right?
Right.
It's a box dropped off in your yard. So, or even like the pods or the mine boxes or whatever. So, I think there's a lot of ways to kind of circumvent it. So maybe if we gotta wordsmith it in a way that cuts some of these things out, you know, so be it. But a lot of it for me is just trying to like what Joel was saying, make it easier for locals to not be, you know, strung up trying to adhere to all the million laws that we got written out. You know, that if you gotta build a shed, you can build a shed, you know what I mean? But I do understand where you're coming from where it's like building a dozen sheds and renting them out as storage space is kind of something we wanna avoid, so.
Okay. Any more discussion? Alright, and number 6, should an outbuilding notification be used for buildings under 100 square foot, 150 square feet in order to make them more trackable? Do we want people living do we want people having 10 150 square foot buildings on one lot and make sure they are assessed other than the reval, the assessors rely on building permits to make new assessments each year? Definitely a related question. I think like we were saying, by cleaning up the language for what's the cleaning up the language in the building notification, cleaning up the language in, the ordinance for building notification, and take out what we do have in the minimum lot, the what is it, a 2 acre, the minimum lot ordinance, because I think by having things in weird spots, people don't even really know where to look, so maybe even taking it out of there and putting it in the building notification ordinance. And having language, I think, that covers people from having sheds. If someone has a shed, buys a shed from Home Depot and uses a carport, and it's over 100 square feet, I think having language in the ordinance that covers in that event where, you know, hey, this is over 100 square feet, it spurs the CEO to take a look. CEO takes a look and says, yep, that's a carport. By having language that covers such structures, I feel like that's a good way of managing it, other than just increasing the footprint of the building itself, of the structure itself.
So you're saying back to the foundation requirement?
Yeah, or something along those lines. Working with the CEO to find out what would be best, because I do think it's ridiculous. Someone buys a shed and they just put trash cans and lawnmowers, whatever, in there, and it just happens to be 110 square feet.
Exactly.
Like, it's an effect, but I think cleaning up the language in the building notification ordinance would make it where, yes, this building is slightly larger, but what is the structure, what is it being used for? It falls under the category of outbuilding.
Yeah, maybe we'll just split requirements for buildings with a foundation versus without. That seems like an easy way to
Yeah.
delineate between the two, right?
Anything else on this?
No, if you're gonna separate the foundation, then my only suggestion was gonna be the 10 by 16 to give Calvin or whoever the CEO is at the time a framework to work inside of size, you know what I mean? So someone could say, well, it's just my carport, it's 40 by 60.
Yeah.
You know?
Yeah.
Keep my trash cans, my car's under there, you know what I mean? No foundation, so
Yeah.
that's my only concern, you know?
Yeah, and the reality is that, again, these small buildings, we're not getting building notifications for these, and they definitely exist, people build them.
The only time that change is when they did a reval, because if there's no building notification, they're not gonna go look at a property, right? So,
Well, I think by having a requirement where it's over 100 square feet, a building notification is required. But that would be where the CEO shows up and uses his discretion and say, this falls into the category of an outbuilding, and then therefore the building notification's in, that will spur our reval to go and reassess the property when they come around, but it won't cost them any extra money in the sense of they have to pay the fee for the permit, things like that.
Does that mean we would refund it? Cause if they're putting a building notification, they're paying the fee at that time, right?
but if it's under a certain amount, they wouldn't be paying a fee
If we have that
if
in,
we have
okay.
that in there.
My personal opinion is, let's not get in silliness with this. I think if we word it right, where if a structure is a permanent structure, it's on piers or it's on a foundation of sorts, it's in a different category than someone having a shed dropped off to store their lawnmower in. I realize that the town needs tax money to function, but we're not trying to be the Gestapo here, and we're not trying to, nickel and dime the people of our town out of, trying to get money out of them every time they wanna, put a shed or a 20-foot Connex box to store their tractor in on their property. That's just my opinion. I'm just one of three, but.
Yeah, no, that's are you saying you're not in favor of a building notification that allows a revow to understand? Cause we have instances in the town where a huge building, beautiful building, house, was built within sight of the road, and when they did the revow, I mean, they just drove by, and what was the final, it was like $800? When it was finally found that it no longer was a garage, that somebody had either torn down, or that garage became the center of the house. It was $1 million home or something like that, and it turned out to be, hey, you need to submit a building permit. I mean, thank goodness it wasn't just $10, it was an $800, you know.
We wouldn't have known, except they called about plumbing, and Calvin went
Right,
out,
but-
and he's
yeah.
like, this
But-
isn't the building.
But that falls into the category, the other category.
Yeah.
That falls well within,
But
you know,
my point being was that it's the building notification which spurs folks who go around and do the revow
Yeah, but I don't think Joel's saying not to do any building permits. You're saying if it's less than 100 square feet or 150 square feet, don't worry about a building permit. We don't care. Cause that's not gonna add a lot of value to your property
Right.
anyway.
exactly, unless it's one that's a permanent.
On a foundation.
On a
Yeah.
foundation or
Yeah.
something.
Right.
Okay.
Yeah, the initial vision here was to eliminate, like, again, they're not happening, but to eliminate the need for a building permit for these smaller animal shelter, well house, non-dwelling type buildings.
What would happen if you had a different kind of notification? You know, we are a town that doesn't have permit. Everything's within the category of building notification. And that goes, at this point, includes that 100 square foot thing up to, 5,000 square foot house. If there were a category of information gathering or information reporting to the town that says, this is it's not a building notification, or it's building notification A, kind of a different category where it doesn't require a fee, but it requires information that the town uses but doesn't require money.
So the only thing I'd say to that is, are they really gonna do it? They're not,
Yeah.
they're telling you they're not doing it today, so are they gonna do it tomorrow anyway?
Exactly, yeah.
That's
The ones that want to will, and the ones that don't.
Yeah.
Well, I think in the end, the assessor's gonna go around and
Find that information out.
find that information. If we have a good assessor that's gonna assess the town properly, then they will find if there's a new building
The
coming
whole
up.
point is that
They don't.
once every 10 years, they go around
They
to
go around
every
to
single
every-
property.
Right.
But other than that, they use the building
They go by the
notifications
building
to go and
notifications,
see.
and copies, and they get all those.
That's
and
why
that's how
having
they go out.
A notice that says there is a building, and that person, if they didn't do A or B, then they're liable to run into a muck.
Yeah.
But if we're encouraging people just to give us the information as a town, so that the assessor has the ability to look, we'll get 50% compliance, that's better than none. We're asking people for it to be informational. Like, the planning board wants things to go well, we're not trying to make it hard on people, but the town does need information.
Cause like another thing, like, I know for instance, the town of Jay, what they do is, at the end of the year, they send out a letter, have you built any new buildings? And you say, oh yeah, I built so-and-so and this and that and the other thing. And you send them the square footage and that's what they tax you on. They don't do any notifications, they don't do any fees on new buildings, they just say, what did you build? How, what has you changed then, right? You notify them of what you built. And that's how they tax you accordingly. So, us doing our own building notification, having fees for it and whatnot is in itself hindering the information that we want to be getting, right? So if we want to tax people properly, if you hinder them the least amount of bit, that's how you get what you want in the end. It's 6 in one hand, half dozen in the other. You get a nice fat building notification fee, or you get somebody who's wants to keep up to date on their taxes, right? Wants to be in the on the up and up, you know what I mean?
not a perfect solution here.
Exactly, it's kinda,
My personal opinion is that there's already a line drawn, and that line, you know, is between 0 and infinite amount of money something costs, and it's probably too close to 0 right now versus like what's actually happening. We should just raise that bar a little bit and make it simpler in terms of, you know, these smaller things don't require notification. We'll catch up with you, and if it is 10 years, it's 10 years. But then over a certain amount, like that's where we focus. Where new dwellings, you know, if you're building like a large garage type thing or something, like those are the things that we should probably focus
Yeah,
on.
I think that's great.
Go with that. Alrighty, that exhausts the questions that we had. Is there anything else? Any other clarification?
No, I'll just note, I think I had noted about the shoreline zone, my last update, so I'll just note there, we have not heard back from Avcog.
I just sent
another
another
email
one
so
today.
we're still waiting.
Yeah, I think we're hitting AvCog on like 2 different groups, a committee, 2 included committee, and yeah, they're,
Maybe just invite them to the next
yeah,
meeting.
they're, well, if they don't answer the emails. Alright. Anything else?
No, I think that's it for us.
Okay, do you guys have any
Oh,
other?
I actually do, sorry,
Oh,
one other, earlier I said select board, for the names of the roads. The way we have it written currently, it's at the addressing officer, so it happened in the town office.
Diane.
Do it.
Diane
Okay.
can make up a name,
Okay,
not a
She's
road,
good at
1,
that.
2, 3, 4, 5, 6.
Not a room.
Yeah.
so that'll be the person who checks to make sure that the roads aren't double named, and to make sure that, okay, that makes
Similar
sense.
to another one.
Yeah, yeah, makes sense.
That's the basic.
I feel like most of the time, if people are gonna pay for the sign, they're gonna wanna pick their road name, and if it's reasonable and not duplicative, probably it's fine, right?
Yellow. There's not one in town yet, so.
Oh, what?
Yellow Brick Road.
All right.
Mr. Corson, looks like the gears are turning. You like that yellow brick road idea?
Absolutely.
Alright, well, if there's nothing else, do we have to make a motion to adjourn from the joint and then, okay, yeah, I make a motion, we adjourn the joint meeting.
Second it?
Alright, motion's been made and seconded, all in favor?
Come on, guys.
Come on.
You guys wanna go, or you wanna stay?
Alright,
have fun right now.
joint meeting is now adjourned. Everyone have a chance to read the minutes from the December 23, 2025 meeting.
Yes.
Alright, any concerns, complaints, questions?
I mean, Warren got an awful lot of, paper on this one, but other than that.
I think that was from Warren.
Chairs.
And the RSU 10 update was substantial. Alright, well, if there's no issues or complaints, I make a motion that we accept the minutes as written.
Second it?
Alright, motion's been made and seconded, all in favor?
All in favor?
Minutes have been approved as written.
Thank you.
Alright, warrant number 14, expenses, $127,304.82. Checks written in series 16240 to 16265. Receipts, $146,508.08. Receipts written in series 1377 to 1479. Percentage of 2023 real estate taxes collected year to date is 98.1%. Percentage of 2024 real estate taxes collected year to date is 97%. Percentage of 2025 real estate taxes collected year to date is 77.6%. Which brings us to open session. Anybody have anything? Nothing heard?
Mike here for
Oh,
No, I'm just hanging out in my town.
Just checking.
And I've come to get signatures too,
Right on.
for re-election, yeah. glutton for punishment.
So are they.
Yeah.
Which brings us to the RSU withdrawal update. I can read this.
You don't have to, it's the
Okay.
same as it was.
Well, you have an
Ms.
update.
Reno?
Yeah, I was gonna say that we are in fact on step 8, and we have, asked for an extension from the DOE. All 3, the chairs of each committee has to submit an email request to Charlotte Ellis at the DOE, and then we will have the extension granted. I don't know what the timeline is, I wanna say it's another 60 days, but I don't know that for sure.
Did you,
Yeah, I've been
touch on your question?
trying to kind of track on you guys and your number crunching and the ways angles you're trying to hit the budget from, and I was just gonna let all of you know that the Petroselli brothers had volunteered their time. If you will be interested in reaching out to them, they said they'd love to help with this portion
Okay,
of what
great,
the
thank
committee
you.
needs to do.
Thank you, I'll
To,
reach out to both of them.
Cool,
Thank you.
awesome. The more the merrier.
Yeah,
Thank you,
I
Deb.
actually took John Petroselli's name in vain the other day. Mentioned him. I said, listen, John said. Didn't I? Okay.
Thanks, Deb.
Thank you.
RSU 10 report. Mrs. Chapman.
Okay, so, I have been told by Devin Roberts, the Building Grounds and Transportation Director of RSU 10, that the discolored water situation that's going on at Hartford Sumner right now, which we didn't know anything about this at our board meeting last night, but I've been hearing about it. They think that it's sediment that has gotten into the water. So Water Quality Maine is involved right now, and the next step of investigation might involve the water filtration system. I don't know anything more than that, as it wasn't brought up at the board meeting last night, but I will continue to ask for updates. So I figured someone was going to ask, so I would reach out to Devin, but wow, it seems like it's news to all of you, so. Okay, as well at Hartford Sumner, there are not any further pest sightings, which is great news to everybody. So it had been treated, the school had been treated over Christmas break, so far so good. So this week and next, in a staggered format, there is no school in the Mountain Valley region for grades 6 through 8, and then pre-K through 5. Again, it's a staggered situation. The students are going to start going into the new Mountain Valley Community School starting on the 19th, so next week. Although it seemed a little confusing when Deb Alden, the superintendent, was talking about it last night. She didn't sound like it was 2 weeks later, but my agenda says that next week, the 6 through 8 kids who had been staying at the Mountain Valley High School in the former industrial arts wing, I mean, they were all crammed in there like sardines. And then the following week, the younger kids will be there. And we did have, the whole board had a tour of that building yesterday. It is huge, and it's definitely gonna be a nice space for the kids, especially after they've been squished into all these spaces that they've been squished into. However, there has been a discussion last night at the board. There was quite a significant discussion about the communal bathroom outside the 2 gyms. And if you were here and listened to what Joel had read or are reading the minutes of the lengthy RSU 10 report from last week, it talks about how there were building plans posted on their website in 2022 for both a locker room and a bathroom that had a dividing wall in it, so boys on one side, girls on the other. And then at some point in the time frame between 22 and 23, there were new floor plans that were put up that the plans that are there on the website now that were added in 2023 after the vote that the taxpayers went and made the referendum vote, if you all remember that. Actually, I had to do 2 of them, we needed a redo on that. This floor plan design was posted after the vote, and what is built now is the floor design that was after the vote. So there was a lot of conversation at the level of the board about how did that happen, why did that happen, the board was never involved in this. So there are a lot of questions surrounding that right now.
Is that typical?
Is that
Typical that the floor designs are changed after the public vote on it?
well, I can't tell you because this is the only time a building has gone up,
So it's not typical.
I would not say it's a good thing to do. I mean, this is the only situation
Did
I
that
know.
change the cost? Did that
No.
make the building more expensive or less expensive?
So the explanation that had been given is that cost saving measures needed to take place. And there were meetings between the DOE and RSU 10 and the architect all throughout this time frame. Information is not greatly forthcoming. There are not building advisory committee meeting minutes that have been made available despite having been asked. So there's definitely an information seeking time going on right now. Where was I going with that?
I'm sorry, I didn't mean that. Derail.
So the initial, what Superintendent Alden has said is there need to be some cost saving measures. And if I remember correctly, there was something about one of the athletic fields had to be curtailed in some way and some things need to be reconfigured, but, you know, answers hopefully will be coming. What happened last night at a board meeting is the agenda got adjusted at the top of the meeting to include a discussion about this because in the last month, there has been a lot of community gathering in the Mountain Valley region. I know down here, we don't really hear about it so much, but up there, the citizens have been in quite an uproar about it. Because there had been a tour, an open house tour that was given, I want to say it was in November, maybe it was in November. And the locker room was, no one could go into the locker room and see it, but there was murmuring going on that it was a co-ed locker room. And so I got a phone call from Representative Tammy Schmerschel-Burgess, who is actually Hartford's representative, and Mexico, and Dixfield, and maybe Carthage. And she said, you have to see this video, and I've got parents in an uproar asking me what's going on with this. So about 2 months ago, maybe more, I started like asking a lot of questions. So the next board meeting, January 26th. So 2 weeks from yesterday, there will be a meeting at Mountain Valley High School at 6:30. This item will be on the agenda. So when I say this item, the item for discussion is the communal bathroom space, which is currently a co-ed bathroom. And it's, you walk in, there's 2 doors that you can walk in, and there's floor to ceiling doors for the toilet stalls. And it's all down one line and all down the other, and then there's sinks over here. So initially in the floor design that was on the website in 2022, there was a wall in between. You know, boys on one side, girls on the other, separate entrances. So there's lots of questions, and I know that Representative Lance here has been helpful in trying to understand what does the statute say about this. So code enforcement officer in Mexico is involved in the conversation now. So next board meeting, January 26th, this will be up for a board vote as to whether or not that wall gets built. So, were there any more questions surrounding that piece of it? On January 21st here at Buckfield Junior Senior High School, there will be 3 committee meetings. Curriculum starts at 4, personnel starts at 5, and policy committee starts at 6. And anybody's welcome to come, but you cannot deliver public comment at a committee meeting per our board rules, but you're all welcome to come and listen.
Okay, thank you. fire department report. Lieutenant.
All right. Lots of changes coming. So recently we got into compliance with the main fire incident reporting system and also national fire incident reporting system. Allows us to better chase grants. Actually, you're excluded from chasing some federal grants unless you're reporting into those systems. So it's a computer-based system. Let's see what else. Potential big expense coming up. We're sending that new truck in to have everything gone through it. Unfortunately, our mechanic who we were using, who could do it right here on site and go through it, has been unresponsive. So we're sending it down to Northeast Fire Apparatus down in Auburn. And they're gonna go through it. So everything, basically get it inspected, get it on the road. You know, we've been driving as is. Main laws were fuzzy on inspection of fire trucks. But we wanna go through it completely. Cause right, we go through it for what we know, but we're not, no one here, you know, none of our guys are truck mechanics. They're also gonna do the pump tests, so on and so forth, so that's in compliance, and that, you know, we'll see where that comes out to be. That's our big potential expenses coming up. What else? One of the things we're looking at doing is how to continue to motivate and retain our firefighters. So we have a lot of guys who are trained now. And there's been talk of, okay, for those who have spent the hundreds of hours to go out and get training, is there a way that they can be compensated more on calls to make sure they show up to calls and go to calls, right? Because that's an ongoing conversation we have. The budget committee has asked us about that before. In the past, we haven't done it because, I mean, no one's making a significant amount of money doing this. And I don't know what our policy will end up being, just know that it is a discussion we're having that try to motivate people to go on and continue getting training and further their firefighting education. Let's see. You may see us out and about a lot more. We're going back through and recertifying people on our trucks. So obviously we have that new truck, which is, it feels way wider when you're sitting there because you're sitting right out of the edge, right? It's a cab over design. So if you're used to driving a normal truck where you're sitting inboard of the tires, you know, you're driving that, you're gonna be putting someone off in the ditch. So we're kind of going back and spending some time on that. And also it is a new pump and so on and so forth. So we're gonna spend some time getting our basically driver operator training for everyone. So you'll probably see us out on the weekends, maybe a little bit more on the training nights too, out and about with trucks. Beyond that, I think, let me just check my list, I got a list on the chat messages here. Oh yes, something I want to talk to the town about. So a lot of fire departments around here, they bill for car accidents. So basically the bill goes to the car insurance. So we have now with this MEFRS and MEFRS National Fire Incident Reporting System, we have the ability to generate reports. So we have so many trucks that's responded, we have so many people that responded, we can generate a report, we can generate a bill, essentially. And that bill is typically sent to the insurance of the people or person who is in the accident. That we would like to do that because that helps recuperate some of our costs, and of course, you know, we can further training, we can further equipment, you know, so on and so forth, we can get some of that, but that needs to be worked out with the office and with you guys to make sure it's okay to do, but.
Can you guys get the insurance information, or is that something
We
would have
can.
to do? Okay.
Yeah, we can. So law enforcement is accustomed to doing this because we're actually behind the times on doing this compared to other towns. So that's something we're looking at doing now as well. And then also for nuisance calls, which is something else that's done, meaning someone is, you know, starts a fire that gets out of hand and we have a burn permit type of thing, and we have to go put it out. Historically, that has been something that's billed for. This is things we're thinking about, right? How to generate, how to, you know, kind of recoup some of our costs and how do we cover, and how do we advance ourselves as a department.
Yeah.
Any thoughts or questions on that?
I have a couple of questions actually. Thank you. So you touched on grants. You said that our folks need to be in system. What exactly is that? Each of our firefighters that's fully trained, partially trained, are they in a system?
So what I'm talking about is, no, I'm talking about our fire department, us as a fire department needs to report to main statistics, basically, right?
Okay.
So the main emergency statistics, main incident reporting system. So for example, we had that fatal fire, or we've had car fires in the past where insurance wants to see our report, and so on and so forth. Well, right now, or well, until before the first of this year, we were doing handwritten reports. They weren't great detail, and so they would come to us and we'd have to fax them copies of those handwritten reports. Now what will happen is the insurance can go and look in the main reporting system or the national reporting system. Now the two systems are now linked, and they can pull our reports. So they can say, you know, this car accident, this town, this location type of thing. They can pull the report and see. For our fire 1 and 2 training that we just did over at Buckfield, we were notified then, they're like, you know what, you're gonna slide down, but in the future you need to be, in order for this grant to go through for your firefighters to be covered, you need to be in the system. And
So you guys need to be reporting it to the state of Maine?
Correct.
Okay.
State of Maine, and also now the state of Maine is now linked with the federal system.
Is that somehow linked to competencies for firefighters or
No.
No, okay.
Not at the moment. So we do have the ability to add firefighters and add their training and stuff like that, but the system has gotten worse since they've started linking with the national system, because they don't talk the same language, right? They're kind of just this year, they linked them. Like, it just went live, I think, in last month or so. And we're still learning it, and also they are working through a pile of bugs. So ideally, we will have everyone's certifications, competencies and stuff in there, but for right now, we're actually regenerating that for all of our firefighters, and that way we can create a paper trail and sign offs by the chiefs and stuff like that, that each person's certified to do certain things. We're kind of revamping a lot of that.
You said we have a problem with retention, or are we training up folks and spending money to kind of get these folks ready to go, and then they're just seeking opportunities in the big city where they can be?
When I say retention, it's not so much, I mean, we have some people who are looking for full-time firefighter positions.
Yeah.
But that's just the nature of the beast. If you get training, you're gonna look for, you know, a full-time job if you like it.
Yeah.
And we can't compete with that.
Yeah.
They're getting paid with insurance and stuff, 70 grand over there, and our entire budget is 70 grand, you know, we're not.
Yeah.
But our main thing is we wanna have active members, right? People who are showing up to trainings, people who, because, you know, then the trainings lead to them being useful on scene, and we want people to show up to the calls as well. So we have, at the moment, we have 12 members. We did lose a couple members. We're at 12 members.
What's our minimum?
What do you mean, what's our
minimum for? Is there a point where like we can't even operate a truck if we have less than?
That depends on the day and the time. So yes, there is a limit, right? You can't roll a truck, especially now. We've kind of tightened our restrictions.
Probably need a driver.
Yep, need to have a driver operator.
This is one.
And then, you know, typically we'd like to have, I've responded with 3. 3 is the bare minimum I'd like to have on call.
Okay.
Ideally, I'd like to have 5, because then you can do traffic and you can work. So you can do traffic control and work at the same time. You know, 7 is fantastic. We've been having 7 a lot recently, which is good.
And then how many accidents do you folks show up to a year? Do you know?
Off the top of my head, I'm gonna guess, the majority of our calls are accidents. I'm gonna guess probably somewhere in like the 50 to 60 range.
Wow. And how much would that, like, for what would we charge? Like, have you guys even gotten that far as to?
So right now, we've just given our numbers to the town, I think, within the last month or so. I believe the numbers are $300 per truck per hour and $65 per hour per person.
Okay.
Per person.
So it would be the same to the insurance company?
Yep. They will have some limits.
So minimum hour, minimum 2 drink. So, okay, so.
I believe insurance does have some limits on what they'll pay for the cleanup of the accident and stuff like that, response to emergency.
Okay, yeah, that makes sense.
We'll see.
Yeah, okay. All right, thank you.
So whatever happened to the truck that was out here?
It was sold.
You sold it?
Yeah.
So you're not gonna use it for what you wanted to do?
Nope. I believe it was sold, December.
December.
Yeah, Lucas got it, right?
Yeah, well, about it.
Would it go for up for bid?
Yeah.
I did, yep.
$3,505.
Nice.
So back to that nuisance calls or whatever.
what's gonna be the guidelines on that? Cause I don't wanna be paying for you to show up, cause someone calls on me all the time.
So, I mean, if you're pulling a permit or whatever, that's fine, like,
Yeah.
you know, permitted burns are permitted burns, they're allowed. If you don't have a permit and you're burning and it's like, oh my god, it's getting to the woods, and we end up having to call 3 towns and all that kind of stuff, it can add up.
You're in trouble.
They've called 3 times on me for a smoldering pile of soot.
I've been there. been to that call.
He's calling me. I was like, you gotta be kidding me. I know what this is for.
I mean, that's, and I don't think that would be considered a nuisance call. I think typically it's people who are.
What do you think it's a nuisance call?
It is a bit of a nuisance.
It's
It
The
goes
first time they showed
It
up
goes
was
to
a
the
fire
tipster.
truck.
The tipster gets the nuisance call.
Yeah.
I mean, to give you an example, we charged, it's still actually in, what do they call it, litigation, still in going through the courts. We ended up having 5 departments go over to West Paris one time for a person who decided to burn down a trailer and a bunch of garbage and all this type of stuff, and it ended up going into the woods and sprayed onto another trailer. It was a mess. And that took us.
Tool Town? Was it on Tool Town?
You know who I'm talking about. Yeah, that took us probably 4 or 5 hours, and you know, we had 2 of our trucks there, and we had 5 or 6 different departments there. That's a lot of manpower and a lot of people you're stopping from doing their jobs, so now this.
Right. Alright. Thank you. Anything else?
Almost up.
Alright, this was a good one.
Thank you.
Okay. Thank you.
So, the question I have is, what do we need to do in order to expedite them being able to, charge for these things?
Yeah, cause it's a decent amount of money. I
Yeah,
was just doing the math in my
So
head.
like, would I be able to pull the report, or would you guys have to print out the report and hand it to me and say, this is who we need?
This is the first part of that conversation.
Okay,
Yep.
well,
I believe we can give you access to the system.
okay, but I would still need to know, like, you'd have to like let me know there was one, cause obviously, like, I don't.
Yeah, so the new reporting things, after we have a call, we have 48 hours to get it into the system.
Okay.
And then, at that time, we'll have, we've created new run sheets in the truck so we can mark off all the boxes that need to be checked in the software anyway. And so maybe we can get you that, or we can get you the actual report, because I believe the report also allows us to enter their information as far as insurance, and driver's license number.
So how do other departments say that typically works? Like, we just bill the insurance company, or we have to bill the insurance company? They're not just gonna find it and hold it?
They're not just gonna send us money.
Yeah. So we'd probably be a policy that we have that when the fire department responds to something, the chief sends Diane a notification and says, this was who was there, this is what we use, this is how long we were there, and then I'm guessing Diane or Norma can shoot a message, a bill essentially to the insurance company.
Does that require any more legality around it than that? Because you're sending a bill out for something that's maybe it's volunteer fire department and the legality of it, you know, whether there's anything.
I mean, we could ask
ordinances or anything.
West Paris how they do it, cause, I mean, I definitely got a bill for, insurance and blocking traffic for Daniel this summer, so. Just, yeah, reach out to a couple other towns, and,
Paperwork, paper trail, all that kind of
Yeah.
stuff, so that it
Yeah.
gives you
Yeah,
permission
maybe
or
shoot an email to
authority or-
MMA, see,
I mean, it's volunteer, but there's still expenses, so I
Yeah.
imagine you're
Right.
billing for your expenses, which is, I would think would be allowable. You're not building for a salary.
Right. And the guys that go there are certified and trained.
Right.
we probably don't need an ordinance for it because, anyone
The
can
policy,
transit.
but the fact that you have a policy that saying this is now in effect where it wasn't before,
yeah.
a change in what you do with it.
It's just to hold people to do a job that they need to do so we can get recouped for this. Alright. Anything else? Any other questions? Alright. Road report, Mr. Corson.
Not much to talk about. The battle is right now just trying to keep the salt shed filled up. When you have 2 or 3 storms in the same week, it, takes a beating. We've had a lot of ice, and now it said to get salt now, you're at least, a week out to get salt. So I've had, 2 loads on order right now for 2 weeks, I haven't got one yet. So we really need to do something with the salt shed, so we can have 5 or 6 loads in there. That would make all the difference. That's about it, I guess. I know I've had a lot of complaints on the Bonnie Road side and the Gammon Road side. That side, they ain't getting out there real quick. But I did have a talk with him, so hopefully it's gonna be a little bit better. He just put a new man on. Other than that, that's about it.
Okay. There's something I was gonna ask you, and I just left my head. Oh, you saw that message, someone was taking
Yeah.
sand from
Yeah.
the wrong spot? Is there anything we can do to kinda just?
Well, you know, we don't even have a name. I mean, he could have saw me filling up a truck, which I work for Jeremy, and Jeremy has a sand pile up there. David Bragg gets sand up there. I mean, they've got, with no name, how do I know who's doing it?
Yeah.
But I think he's saying, could you put a sign up that says?
No, not, did you, it just, could we, or is there something?
Put a sign up or something that says this is
Okay.
the town
Yeah.
pile.
I mean, there is a sign that's.
There is a sign?
Yeah.
For residents,
For
they take
residents,
sand,
yeah.
they put sand on the side, they take
Yeah.
that, yeah.
So you think somebody could have seen somebody who is doing the right thing, they're just taking it
Exactly.
I
from
think
their
it's just an
sand?
innocent,
Yeah,
Yeah.
I mean, there's quite a few of us.
So we don't
out there.
know, so why jump to conclusions?
That's exactly,
Yeah, okay.
exactly.
Okay.
I think it's probably all right. I'm there a lot, Jeremy's there a lot, we don't see anybody taking sand.
If someone took sand from the municipal pile instead of the resident
It don't
pile,
matter.
it's still sand, is it salt blend or?
It could have salt blend.
Well, there's salt in all of that sand.
In all of it? Okay.
Yeah, so it don't freeze up.
Yeah.
I just don't want them, I'd rather not have them in our pile that we put up, Jeremy and all of us, but
Yeah,
it's no big deal. I mean, 5 bucketfuls of sand ain't gonna hurt us.
yeah.
So
You know,
where
it's
are
no
you
big
supposed to
deal.
get sand? Cause I stopped and got sand and I probably took it from the wrong place cause I didn't see a sign, so. For
You
the
know that
whole
little-
YouTube world to know,
It's
where do we
it's a little
go?
pile on the right.
It's just a little pile that's in some Jersey barriers.
Yeah.
Oh, yeah,
And we
I
try
was
to
the
keep
wrong
that full.
person
Yeah,
then.
where that little shack is there, that little
Okay.
guard shack.
But supposedly this guy saw somebody load his truck up with the loader.
Oh,
Whoa.
And so I would say that's probably me.
oh.
You know, cause I've used a loader, I got a sander, and David Bragg does too in his pickup,
Gotcha.
working for BIM, so it's probably just innocent, I don't.
Yeah,
Right.
So I was gonna stop and see him one of these days when he's outside and just say, and tell him that.
yeah,
I think the big deal is just, the main reason for having the little pile is just because when there's a storm going on and the guys are in and out of there with a bunch of
That
trucks.
keeps them over there.
Yeah,
Keeps them out of the
yeah,
way.
you don't
yeah,
wanna,
yeah. you
and
don't want-
it is hard to see when there's a snowstorm. You know, when I plowed for Jeremy
And they're in a hurry. and-
years ago, yeah, the people are off to the side, then there's one less thing you gotta worry about
Right.
trying to back up the sand pile.
Would it make sense to move that salt shed around the back of the pile and then start pulling the sand and mixing
From the back of the pile.
out back of the pile? That would make that whole section wider. We gotta rebuild that stinking salt shed anyways. It was just something I was thinking about the other day. If we'd end up taking that down, we reuse the trusses and Jersey barriers. We've got some money from a grant thing left over to buy more Jersey barriers.
Right.
If we tuck it around back and just start pulling from the back and mixing out in the back and driving around.
Well, the reason why they don't like out back is it's cold out there. The sun hits the front side of the pile really good.
Keeps it thawed out.
Yeah,
makes sense.
that's why they on that side.
Alright,
That makes sense.
yeah. Well, we
That's
just-
really good, that's really good insight.
And I think.
Thank you for that, that wouldn't occur to me.
Is in good position, because they just go in,
It's the south side.
back right up, dump it right, you know.
So we'll just build it bigger.
It just needs to be, we need at least 2 more load in there to stay in. It ain't bad if you got a storm every week, but when you get 3 in a row, they can take 4 load of salt out of it, especially when it's icy.
Alright, thank you.
Yep.
ACO report, Mr. Holmes.
Nothing,
Nothing at all?
nothing at all.
Nothing at all?
Not too many animals out on the prowl,
Yeah, well,
Makes the
not
weather.
that, not that you're seeing
Cold,
from
staying inside.
yeah.
The coyotes were loud the other night, though.
Forms, reports, correspondence. I have a section for that.
There isn't anything.
Nothing, okay. New business, old business, upcoming
I have
events.
a question.
Oh, yes ma'am.
You mentioned a while ago having an opportunity to meet with the resilience committee,
Yes. So
Is
the
something
next
coming out
round
of
of
that?
grants, we are actually waiting to see what we can do with Buckfield, because if we join together, you can get more money. And we're not really sure exactly what Cam has planned yet, so if Cam doesn't have something planned for the solid waste area that we could use money for, then I've gotten quotes to replace the windows in the office building, cause they're really drafty and metal. If we can get grant money to pay for something we have to do further on down the road, then we should do it, I would think. So,
There
That's
was
the
discussion
plan.
at a solid waste committee about potentially using any grant money for heat pumps for the,
for the
I think for
building.
the operator in the
Yeah.
building, not the little lunchroom thing, but. I guess
So,
it gets pretty
the
cold
deal
there.
is if we go in together, I think we can get what, $25,000 or $50,000 more.
I thought it was
than if-
50.
I think it's, yeah, I think you're right, I think it's $50,000 more than if we did it separately, so that's why we were trying to combine it together.
Alright, upcoming events. Board of Appeals hearing is for set for January 23rd, 2026 at 6 p.m. Rabies Clinic is January 31st, 2026, 10 a.m. to noon. And notices, the office will be closed January 16th and 17th, which is Friday and Saturday.
there's also a comprehensive plan meeting on the 22nd,
22nd, yeah.
6 o'clock here.
Yes. Alright, that concludes our business. Alright, I make a motion that we adjourn.
Second it?
Alright, motion's made and seconded, all in favor?
6 p.m. roughly.
And that's what am I right, 6 o'clock?
Meeting's adjourned at 7:12, January 13th, 2026.